The big meeting room on Nexus Prime space station was full of strange beings. 12 different alien races sat around a curved table that looked like a half moon. The table was made of smooth white stone that glowed softly in the dim light. Each alien had their own special chair that fit their body shape, but one chair was empty. The empty chair sat at the head of the table. It was made of dark wood from Earth. The wood had a rich brown color that seemed warm compared to all the metal, and stone around it. On the back of the chair was a small metal plate with Earth's symbol on it. The symbol showed a blue and green planet with white clouds. Chancellor Vextar stood up to start the meeting. He was tall and looked like he was made of clear crystal. Light moved through his body in slow waves. When he was calm, the light was blue. When he was worried, it turned purple. Right now, the light was definitely purple. The monthly council. "Meeting will now begin," Vextar said. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. He looked around the room at all the other aliens, but his crystal eyes never looked at the empty chair. To his left sat 3 beings from the reptilian dominion. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their leader, Counselor Vecmer, had dark green scales and yellow eyes that never blinked. His long tail moved back and forth behind his chair. Across from them were the water-breathing aliens from the Aquatic Collective. They sat in special tanks filled with blue liquid. Tubes connected their tanks to their mouths so they could speak. When they talked, bubbles rose up in their tanks. The insectoid hive had sent 3 of their kind, too. They looked like giant ants, but with 4 arms instead of 2. They made clicking sounds to each other that their translation devices turned into words the others could understand. Many other strange beings filled the other seats. Some had fur, some had feathers, and some looked like living rocks. But they all had one thing in common. None of them looked at the empty Earth chair. Vextar began to read from a long list. First item: trade routes between the Outer Rim colonies and the core worlds. The meeting went on like this for an hour. They talked about boring things like shipping costs and fuel prices. The aliens argued about small details, but never about anything important. It was like they were all trying to avoid talking about something big. Finally, Counselor Vecmer could not stay quiet anymore. He stood up, and his yellow eyes looked right at the empty chair. "When will Earth send a new person to sit in that chair?" he asked. The room became very quiet. Even the humming sounds from the machine stopped. All the aliens looked uncomfortable. Some looked at the floor. Others suddenly found their datapads very interesting to read. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body turned a darker purple color. The light inside him moved faster, like a storm was building up. "Earth has been given a break from council duties," Vextar said slowly. "This break is only for a short time." But Vecmer was not satisfied with this answer. "How short?" he asked. "It has been 6 months since Commander Jake Miller left. The chair has been empty all this time." A small alien that looked like a blue cat with wings spoke up. "Maybe Earth does not want to come back. Maybe they think they are too good for us now." This made several other aliens nod their heads. But an alien that looked like a tree with eyes shook his branches. "No, that is not right. Humans always want to be part of things. They never give up." Vextar raised one of his crystal hands to make everyone be quiet. "The situation with Earth is complicated," he said. "Their last representative caused some problems." "What kind of problems?" asked Vecmer. Vextar looked very uncomfortable now. His purple light was almost black. "Commander Miller made some suggestions about changing how we do things. These suggestions were not good for the council." The room filled with whispers. The aliens talked to each other in their own languages. The translation devices could not keep up with all the different conversations happening at once. An old alien that looked like a wise elephant with tentacles instead of a trunk spoke in. A deep voice. We should not fear humans. They are young, but they learn quickly. Maybe too quickly. That is exactly the problem, said a small alien with silver skin. They learn too fast. They change too much. They make us all look bad. The tree-like alien rustled his leaves angrily. They saved my people from the plague last year. Human doctors work day and night to help us. How does that make them bad? Because they did not ask permission first, the silver alien replied. They just showed up and started helping. They did not follow the proper procedures. More arguments broke out around the table. Some aliens thought humans were helpful. Others thought they were dangerous. But they all agreed on one thing. The empty chair made them nervous. Meanwhile, very far away on Earth, Captain Lisa Hayes was working late in her office. The office was deep underground in a military base in Colorado. The walls were thick concrete and steel. Banks of computers lined the walls, their screens showing information from all over the galaxy. Lisa was reading reports when her computer made a soft beeping sound. A new message had arrived, but this message was different. It was encrypted with codes she had never seen before. She opened the message carefully. The words that appeared on her screen made her heart beat faster. Captain Hayes, you do not know me, but I work inside the Galactic Council. I have important information about Earth's situation. Several alien races are planning to remove Earth from the Council forever. They plan to vote on this soon. The empty chair scares them, but not because humans are gone. They are scared of what will happen when humans come back. You need to know the truth about why Commander Miller really left. Meet me on Secure Channel 7 tomorrow at 0800 hours. A friend. Lisa stared at the message for a long time, and she pressed a button to call her assistant. Get me Dr. Sam Carter and Lieutenant Ben Walsh, she said. Tell them to come here. Right away, we have a problem. As Lisa waited for her team to arrive, she looked out her window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, aliens were sitting around a table, afraid of an empty chair. An empty chair that belonged to Earth. But soon, that chair would not be empty anymore. 3 weeks had passed since Lisa Hayes received the mysterious message. Now she stood on the bridge of the Earthship, called Liberty. The ship was flying through space toward Nexus Prime Station. Lisa wore her best uniform and tried to look calm, but inside she was worried. Dr. Sam Carter stood next to her, looking at a datapad. Sam was a smart woman who studied alien life forms. She had short brown hair and glasses that made her look very serious. She knew more about aliens than almost anyone on Earth. Lieutenant Ben Walsh was checking the ship's weapon systems. Ben was a tall man with blonde hair and blue eyes. He had worked with Commander Jake Miller before Miller left the Council. Ben knew things about what really happened up there. Tell me again about these protocols, Lisa said to Sam. Sam looked up from her data pad. It's called the Apex Protocol. It was written into the Council's first laws a long time ago. Most aliens have forgotten about it because it's buried deep in old documents. But Jake Miller found it, Ben said. He stopped working on the weapons and turned around. He spent months reading those old papers. That's what got him in trouble. Sam nodded. The protocol says that any race can take emergency control of the Council if they prove they are better in 3 areas: military innovation, diplomatic solutions, and preserving life. Lisa frowned. And humans qualify in all 3? Without even trying, Sam said. Think about it. We've created new weapons and defense systems that the aliens never thought of. We've solved conflicts between species that had been fighting for hundreds of years. And we've saved more alien lives in the past 5 years than some species save in 50 years. Ben laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. That's exactly why they're scared of us. The other species have been running the galaxy for thousands of years. Then humans show up and start doing everything better. The ship's computer made a soft sound. Approaching Nexus Prime Station in 2 hours, it announced. Lisa walked over to the big window at the front of the bridge. Outside, she could see the stars and the dark space between them. Somewhere out there was the station where aliens were deciding Earth's future. Ben, tell me what Jake was like in his last days, Lisa said. Ben sat down in a chair and rubbed his face with his hands. He looked tired just thinking about it. Jake was different when I first met him, Ben said. He was excited about working with aliens. He thought we could all be friends and help each other. But after a few months on the station, he started to change. How did he change? Sam asked. He got angry. Not at the aliens themselves, but at how things worked. He said the council was broken. They would spend months arguing about simple problems while people were dying. He said it was like watching a fire burn down a house while the fire department argued about which truck to use. Lisa nodded. She had heard stories like this before. What happened when he tried to fix things? At first, some of the aliens liked his ideas, the younger ones especially. They had been frustrated too, but the old ones who ran everything got scared. They said Jake was trying to take over. Sam looked at her data pad again. According to my research, the Zephyrians have controlled the council for over 2,000 years. They use their advanced technology to make all the important decisions. If humans can do things better without fancy technology, it makes the Zephyrians look weak. It's worse than that, Ben said. Near the end, Jake told me that some of the aliens had started treating humans differently. Not with the usual disrespect, but with something like fear. He said they whispered about humans when they thought we couldn't hear. What did they whisper? Lisa asked. They called us the Awakened Ones. Jake never figured out what that meant exactly, but it scared them. The ship's communication system made a beeping sound. Lisa pressed a button to answer. This is Echo, said a voice. It was the same person who had sent the first message. I'm glad you're almost here, but we have a problem. The council has called an emergency vote. They want to remove Earth from the council before you arrive. Lisa felt her heart sink. When is the vote? Tomorrow morning. They think if they vote while no human is here to defend Earth, it will be legal. Can they do that? Sam asked. Normally, no. But they're using an old emergency law. They claim that Earth is a threat to galactic peace. Ben stood up quickly. That's ridiculous. We've been helping keep the peace. I know, Echo said, but they're scared. Fear makes people do stupid things, even aliens. Lisa thought quickly. Is there any way to stop the vote? Maybe. There's an ancient law that says any member species can demand an immediate emergency assembly if they have proof of a galactic threat. But the proof has to be really serious. Lisa looked at Sam and Ben. Do we have proof of a galactic threat? Sam was already working on her data pad. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. Actually, we do. Remember the Void Hunters? Ben's face went pale. You mean the reports from the outer colonies? What about the Void Hunters? Lisa asked. Sam turned her datapad so Lisa could see the screen. For the past year, we've been getting strange reports from human colonies on the edge of known space. Ships disappearing, colonies going silent, strange energy readings. We thought it was just normal space dangers. But it wasn't, Ben said. Quietly. No. 3 months ago, one of our patrol ships found something. The crew of the ship Defender encountered alien vessels unlike anything in the Council database. These aliens attacked without warning and seemed to be collecting biological samples from destroyed colonies. Lisa stared at the information on the screen. How many colonies have been attacked? 17 that we know of. But here's the important part. They weren't just human colonies. The attackers destroyed alien settlements too. We found evidence that at least 4 council species have lost colonies to these void hunters. And the council doesn't know about this? Lisa asked. Sam shook her head. We sent reports, but they were buried in bureaucracy. The Council Committee on Outer Rim Security meets once every 6 months. Our reports are still waiting to be reviewed. Ben stood up and walked to the window. So while the Council argues about trade routes, unknown aliens are destroying entire worlds. It gets worse, Sam said. The biological samples the void hunters are collecting, they're not random. They're specifically targeting genetic material from intelligent species. It's like they're building a library of every thinking race in the galaxy. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Why would they do that? We don't know. But whatever they're planning, it's big. The communication system beeped again. This is Echo. Are you still there? We're here, Lisa said. Echo, do the council members know about the void hunters? Some might, but if they do, they haven't told the full council. Why? Lisa looked at her team. Sam was already copying data files. Ben was checking their weapons again. Both of them looked ready for whatever came next. Because we're about to give them the biggest emergency assembly in council history, Lisa said. As the Liberty flew closer to Nexus Prime Station, Lisa thought about the empty chair waiting for them. The aliens were afraid of that chair because they thought it represented human ambition. But they were wrong. The chair represented something much more dangerous to a broken system. It represented the possibility of change. And change was exactly what the galaxy needed. The Liberty docked at Nexus Prime Station, just as the morning shift was starting. Lisa Hayes walked through the station's corridors with Sam Carter and Ben Walsh beside her. The hallways were full of aliens going about their daily business. Most of them stopped to stare at the humans. Lisa had made a bold decision during the night. Instead of asking politely to attend the emergency vote, she had sent an official demand for an immediate galactic emergency assembly. She used the ancient law that Echo had told her about. Now every council member had to attend, and they had. To listen to what she had to say. The council chamber was buzzing with activity when the humans arrived. All 12 alien species were there, but they looked confused and angry. They had expected to vote quickly to remove Earth from the council. Instead, they were facing an emergency assembly that could last for days. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was almost black with stress. When he saw Lisa enter the chamber, the dark color got even deeper. Captain Hayes, he said in his wind chime voice, you have called for this emergency assembly. You claim to have evidence of a galactic threat. This evidence must be very serious, or you will face severe punishment for wasting the council's time. Lisa walked to the center of the chamber. The empty Earth chair was behind her, but she did not sit down. She wanted all the aliens to see her standing strong. Chancellor Vextar, members of the council, she began. The threat I bring to your attention is more serious than anything this council has faced in 1,000 years. While you have been debating trade agreements, an unknown enemy has been destroying entire worlds. A murmur went through the chamber. Some aliens looked skeptical. Others looked worried. Councillor Vecmer from the Reptilian Dominion stood up. What enemy? We have heard no reports of any major threats. Sam Carter stepped forward. She was carrying a large datapad and several storage devices. That's because the reports were sent to your Outer Rim Security Committee, the committee that meets twice a year and currently has a backlog of over 3,000 unreviewed reports. She connected her datapad to the chamber's main display screen. Images appeared that made several aliens gasp. The first image showed the remains of a human colony on a planet called New Denver. What had once been a thriving settlement of 50,000 people was now nothing but melted metal and glass. The ground was black and burned. This was taken 3 months ago, Sam said. New Denver was attacked by unknown vessels. No survivors. were found, but something else was missing too. The next image showed a large crater where the colony's medical center had been. The attackers specifically targeted the genetic storage facility. They took samples of human DNA, medical records, and biological research data. They left behind valuable metals and technology, but they took every piece of biological information they could find. Ben Walsh activated another display. This one showed sensor readings from space battles. The human patrol ship Defender encountered the attackers during their retreat. The enemy ships used technology we've never seen before. They seemed to be able to adapt to our weapons during the fight. Every time we used a tactic, they learned how to counter it within minutes. Chancellor Vextar's color was now purple instead of black, which meant he was more interested than angry. These unknown ships, did they communicate with your people? No, Ben said. They attacked without warning and fought until they escaped. But we did learn something important from the wreckage they left behind. Sam changed the display again. This time it showed fragments of alien metal and strange symbols. We call them the Void Hunters because they seem to come from empty space between star systems. But their technology suggests they've been watching the galaxy for a very long time. Some of these metal fragments contain elements that are over 10,000 years old. An alien that looked like a giant butterfly with rainbow wings spoke up. You said this was a galactic threat, but you've only shown us attacks on human colonies. Lisa had been waiting for this question. Sam, show them the other sites. The display changed to show a burned world covered in purple vegetation. Then, another world with crystal formations that looked like Chancellor Vextar's people, and an underwater world that could have belonged to the Aquatic Collective. 17 worlds have been attacked in the past 8 months, Sam said. 6 were human colonies. 4 were Zephyrian settlements. 3 belong to your people, she said, pointing to the butterfly alien. 2 were Aquatic Collective research stations. And 2 were uninhabited worlds that contained archaeological sites from ancient civilizations. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Aliens were talking rapidly in their own languages. The translation devices were overwhelmed. Impossible. Shouted an alien with silver skin. We would have been told if our colonies were attacked. Ben activated another display. Your colonies sent distress signals. But those signals were classified as minor security incidents by your own bureaucracy. The reports are sitting in filing systems, waiting for committee review. Chancellor Vextar stood up slowly. His crystal body was now flashing rapidly between purple and blue. Are you telling us that while we have been conducting normal business, an unknown enemy has been systematically attacking our people? Yes, Lisa said simply, but it gets worse. Sam brought up a new display. This one showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking the attacked worlds. The attacks aren't random. Look at the pattern. The red dots formed a rough circle around the area of space that contained most council worlds. The attacks were getting closer to the center with each month. They're working their way inward, Sam explained. Testing our defenses, learning about each species, collecting genetic information. We think they're preparing for something much bigger. The tree-like alien rustled his leaves nervously. What could they want with genetic information from so many different species? We don't know, Lisa admitted. But we found something else that might explain it. Ben activated one more display. This one showed the inside of a damaged Void Hunter ship that the Defender had managed to disable. Inside their ships, we found storage containers filled with biological samples, not just from the recent attacks, but from dozens of species we don't recognize. Some of the genetic material appears to be from races that have been extinct for thousands of years. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the humming of the station's machines seemed to get quieter. They're collectors, Sam said. They preserve the genetic heritage of intelligent species. But we don't think they're trying to save these species. We think they're building something. Counselor Vecmer's yellow eyes were wide with fear. Building what? We don't know, Lisa said. But whatever it is, they need genetic material from every intelligent race in the galaxy to complete it. Chancellor Vexstar sat down heavily in his chair. The light in his crystal body was now a deep blue that meant he was thinking hard. Why? Didn't you tell us about this sooner? He asked. Lisa felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. We tried. Earth sent detailed reports about the first attacks 6 months ago. We requested emergency meetings. We offered to share our intelligence and coordinate our defenses. And? The butterfly alien asked. And we were told that Earth was being overly aggressive and paranoid. We were advised to let the proper committees handle the situation through normal channels. Ben stepped forward. The same week that Commander Jake Miller discovered these attacks, he was asked to leave the Council. He was told that his suggestions for faster emergency response procedures were disruptive to Council harmony. The chamber erupted again. This time, the aliens weren't just shocked. They were angry, but they weren't angry at the humans. They were angry at themselves. Chancellor Vexstar raised his crystal hand for silence. When the chamber was quiet, he looked directly at Lisa. Captain Hayes, he said, what do you propose we do about this threat? Lisa looked around the chamber at all the alien faces looking back at her. Fear, anger, shame, and hope were all mixed, together in their expressions. We fight back, she said. Together. But first, we need to change how this council works. Because if we keep operating the way we have been, the Void Hunters won't need to destroy us. We'll destroy ourselves with our own bureaucracy. Behind her, the empty Earth chair seemed to glow in the chamber's light. It was still empty, but now it didn't represent human absence. It represented the possibility of something new, something that might actually work. The council chamber had been in chaos for 3 hours. Aliens were shouting at each other in languages that the translation devices couldn't keep up with. Some were angry about the Void Hunter attacks. Others were angry that their own governments had hidden the attacks from them. Many were angry at themselves for not listening to human warnings months ago. Lisa Hayes stood in the center of it all, waiting. She had learned that sometimes the best thing to do in a crisis was to let people get their anger out before trying to solve problems. Finally, Chancellor Vexstar's crystal body flashed bright white. This was a signal that all Zephyrians understood. It meant emergency silence now. The other aliens had learned to recognize it over the centuries. The chamber became quiet. Captain Hayes, Vexstar said, you have shown us that our current system failed to protect our people. You say we need to change how the council works. What exactly do you propose? Lisa had been thinking about this moment for weeks. She knew that what she said next would either save the galaxy or start a war between species. I don't propose that. Earth takes control of the council, she said. Several aliens looked surprised. They had expected her to claim power. I propose that we make the council actually work for the first time in its history. She gestured to Sam Carter, who activated a new display. This one showed a chart of the current council structure. Right now, each species votes based on what's best for their own people, Lisa continued. When there's a problem, you form a committee. The committee debates for months. By the time they make a decision, the problem has usually gotten worse or gone away on its own. Counselor Vecmer nodded reluctantly. This is ... accurate. What we need is a system based on expertise, not politics, Lisa said. When there's a military threat, it should be handled by people who understand military strategy. When there's a scientific problem, it should be handled by scientists. When there's a diplomatic crisis, it should be handled by actual diplomats. Sam changed the display to show a new organizational chart. We propose specialized response teams made up of experts from multiple species, Sam explained. Each team would have the authority to act immediately when their area of expertise is needed. No more waiting for committee meetings. A small alien with blue fur and large eyes raised her hand. But who would lead these teams? Who would make the final decisions? Lisa smiled. This was the part she was most proud of. The teams would lead themselves, she said. Decisions would be made by the people who actually understand the problems. Leadership would rotate based on the situation, not based on which species is considered most important. The chamber filled with murmurs. Some aliens looked intrigued. Others looked worried. The butterfly alien fluttered her rainbow wings nervously. This would mean giving up our traditional voting system. Our species has held council seats for thousands of years. And what has that system accomplished? Ben Walsh asked. He stepped forward and activated another display. In the past 50 years, how many major problems has the council solved quickly and effectively? The display showed a list of crises that had taken the council months or years to address. Famines that killed millions while committees debated food distribution. Wars that lasted decades because peace negotiations were scheduled around committee meeting times. Plagues that spread across multiple star systems while medical committees argued about jurisdiction. The old system protects your traditions, Lisa said, but it doesn't protect your people. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was cycling through different colors as he thought. Finally, he settled on a deep blue. This system you propose, he said. What would prevent one species from dominating the others? Because the system isn't based on species at all, Sam explained. It's based on ability. A Zephyrian scientist might work with human engineers and aquatic collective biologists to solve a medical crisis. The next week, that same Zephyrian might be taking orders from a reptilian military strategist during a defense operation. Ben nodded. We've already seen how well this can work. 3 months ago, human doctors worked with botanical collective healers to stop a plague on one of your worlds. They didn't waste time debating who was in charge. They just saved lives. The tree-like alien rustled his leaves thoughtfully. My people remember that. The humans arrived within days of our distress call. Our own government's medical committee was still scheduling meetings to discuss the problem. Lisa could see that some of the aliens were starting to understand, but she also saw resistance in others. Change was always hard, especially for people who benefited from the current system. I know this is difficult, she said. You're being asked to give up power that your species have held for a long time, but I want you to think about something. What's more important, maintaining old traditions or keeping your people alive? Before anyone could answer, the chamber's communication system activated. A voice filled the room, but it wasn't Echo, their mysterious contact. Attention council members, the voice said. It sounded mechanical and cold. This is Nexus Prime. Security. We have detected unauthorized personnel in restricted areas of the station. Please remain in the chamber while we investigate. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Something was wrong. Ben was already moving toward the chamber's security console. His military training had kicked in. Captain, those weren't security officers. Real station security would have used proper identification codes. The lights in the chamber suddenly went out. Emergency lighting came on, casting everything in a red glow. Sam was working frantically on her datapad. I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout the station. Someone is accessing core systems. Chancellor Vextar stood up. His crystal body was now flashing red, which meant extreme danger. All council members, activate your personal shields. Around the chamber, various aliens activated different types of protective devices. Some created energy barriers around themselves. Others activated armor that materialized from hidden devices. Lisa, Ben said quietly, remember what we found. On that damaged Void Hunter ship, They had detailed scans of this station. They knew exactly how it was built. "You think they're here?" Lisa asked. "I think they've been here for a while." Sam looked up from her datapad with a horrified expression. "I'm detecting biological scanners throughout the station. The same type we found on the Void Hunter ships. They're scanning every life form on the station." Suddenly, the chamber doors burst open. But instead of security officers, 3 familiar figures walked in. They were aliens that everyone recognized. Counselor Bektar from the Zephyrian delegation, Admiral Sivan from the Aquatic Collective, and General Crix from the Reptilian Honor Guard. But something was wrong with them. They moved in perfect synchronization, like machines. Their eyes were completely black, with no trace of intelligence or personality. "Council members," Bektar said in a voice that sounded like his own, but felt completely wrong. "You will all remain seated while we complete our data collection." Lisa realized with horror what she was looking at. These weren't the real aliens. They were copies. Perfect biological duplicates, created from the genetic material the Void Hunters had been collecting. "How long?" she asked. "How long have you been replacing council members?" The fake Bektar tilted his head in a way that no real Zephyrian would ever do. "Biological replacement began 6 months ago. Current replacement rate, 47% of station personnel. Completion estimated in 72 hours. Around the chamber, the real aliens were looking at each other with growing terror. If the Void Hunters had been replacing Council members for 6 months, then some of the people in this very room might not be real. Ben drew his weapon. "How do we tell who's real and who's fake?" Before anyone could answer, Sam held up her datapad. "I've been scanning everyone since we arrived. The biological duplicates have slightly different cellular structures. I can identify them." She looked at her readings and her face went pale. "Lisa, we have a big problem." "What?" "According to these scans, Chancellor Vextar died 4 months ago. The person who's been running the council is a fake. The fake Vextar's crystal body stopped flashing and became completely clear. When he spoke, his voice was no longer the familiar wind chime sound." "Incorrect," he said in the same mechanical tone as the others. "Chancellor Vextar is not dead. He is preserved in Stasis Chamber 7, along with all other replaced individuals. They are being kept alive to maintain biological template accuracy." Lisa felt sick. If the Void Hunters had been replacing council leaders for months, then every major decision the council had made recently was actually made by the enemy. "What do you want?" she asked. "Completion of the genetic archive," the fake Vextar replied. "All intelligent species in the galaxy must be cataloged and preserved. The project is 91% complete." "Preserved for what?" "For the new galaxy. Current biological diversity is inefficient. The archive will be used to create improved versions of all species, upgraded, perfected, under unified control." Lisa understood now. The Void Hunters weren't just collecting genetic material to study different species. They were planning to wipe out all existing life and replace it with improved versions that they could control, and they were almost finished. The empty chair behind her suddenly seemed less important than it had an hour ago. If they couldn't sus. The battle for Nexus Prime Station began in the council chamber. Ben Walsh fired his weapon at the fake Chancellor Vextar, but the energy beam passed right through the duplicate's crystal body. The fake alien shimmered and became solid again, completely unharmed. "Energy weapons are ineffective against our biological matrices," the duplicate said calmly. "We adapt to all attack methods within seconds." Around the chamber, the real aliens were panicking. Some were trying to run toward the exits, but the doors had sealed themselves shut. Others were activating their personal defense systems, but nothing seemed to work against the duplicates. Lisa looked around desperately. They were trapped in a room with enemies that could adapt to any weapon. But then she remembered something from the reports about the Void Hunter ship that the Defender had damaged. Sam. She called out. What destroyed their ship when we fought? Them? Sam was busy scanning the fake aliens with her datapad. Kinetic impact. We rammed them with a cargo pod. Physical force worked when energy weapons didn't. Lisa grabbed a heavy ceremonial staff from one of the wall displays. Everyone, use physical weapons. Throw things. Hit them with whatever you can find. Ben immediately understood. He holstered his energy weapon and picked up a chair. The butterfly alien used her strong wings to grab a metal sculpture from the wall. Even Counselor Thekmer grabbed his ceremonial sword. The duplicates tried to adapt to the physical attacks, but their bodies couldn't change fast enough. When Ben hit the fake Vextar with the chair, the duplicates stumbled and flickered like a broken hologram. Physical damage disrupts their molecular cohesion. Sam shouted while hitting a fake reptilian with her datapad. Keep hitting them. The battle was fierce but short. The duplicates were designed to fight technological enemies, not desperate beings with improvised weapons. Within minutes, all three fake aliens had collapsed into puddles of strange silver liquid, but the victory felt hollow. The station was still under Void Hunter control, and they didn't know how many more duplicates were out there. We need to find the real council members, Lisa said. And we need to do it fast. Sam was already working on her scanner. According to the fake Vextar, they're being kept in stasis chambers. I'm detecting several areas of the station with high-energy biopreservation fields. Ben checked his weapons. How many real people do you think are left? The duplicates said they had replaced 47% of station personnel. That means more than half the people here are still real. We just need to figure out who's who. They left the council chamber carefully. The station's corridors were eerily quiet. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Occasionally, they would see other people moving around, but there was no way to tell if they were real or duplicates without Sam's scanner. Level 7, Sam whispered, reading her device. I'm detecting 12 biopreservation chambers there. They made their way through the station's maintenance tunnels to avoid being seen. The tunnels were dark and full of pipes and cables. But they were also empty of people, real or fake. When they reached level 7, they found a section of the station that looked completely different from the rest. The walls were covered with strange, organic-looking technology that seemed to grow rather than being built. In the center of the area were 12 large cylinders filled with glowing blue liquid. There they are, Sam said. Inside the cylinders, they could see the real council members floating in stasis. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was dim, but intact. Counselor Thekmer's reptilian form was suspended motionless. All of them were alive, but unconscious. How do we wake them up? Ben asked. Sam was studying the alien technology. This equipment is designed to keep them stable while their genetic patterns are being copied. If we shut it down wrong, we could kill them. Lisa walked around the cylinders, looking for some kind of control system. The organic technology was unlike anything she had ever seen. It seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Wait, she said. Remember what the fake Vextar said? They keep the originals alive to maintain template accuracy. That means this system is designed to preserve life, not destroy it. She found what looked like a main control node. It was a mass of twisted organic cables that glowed with soft light. Without hesitating, she grabbed the cables and pulled. The entire system shuddered. Warning lights flashed. The blue liquid in the cylinders began to drain away. Lisa, what are you doing? Sam asked. Something human, Lisa replied. I'm improvising. The cylinders opened with a hissing sound. The real council members fell to the floor, coughing and gasping. They were weak but alive. Chancellor Vextar was the first to speak. His crystal body flickered weakly as he tried to stand. Captain Hayes? How ... what happened? The Void Hunters have been replacing council members for months, Lisa explained quickly. Your duplicates have been running the council. We need to take back the station, Councillor Vecmer hissed angrily. How many of our people are duplicates? Too many, Ben said. But we know how to fight them now. Physical weapons disrupt their molecular structure. The real aliens were struggling to their feet. They were weak from months in stasis, but they were determined to fight back. What do we do first? Asked the butterfly alien, whose real name was Zaramov. Lisa looked around at the group of real council members. A few hours ago, these same beings had been afraid of working with humans. Now they were ready to follow her into battle. First, we take back the security center, she said. Then we identify all the remaining duplicates. Then we figure out where the Void Hunters are actually based and stop them permanently. Chancellor Vextar's crystal body was getting brighter as he recovered. Captain Hayes, I believe you mentioned earlier that you wanted to change how the council operates. That was before we knew the council had been taken over by the enemy, Lisa said. No, Vextar said firmly. That was exactly when we needed to change. The old system made it easy for the Void Hunters to infiltrate us. They only needed to replace a few key leaders to control everything. Over the next 6 hours, the combined group of real aliens and humans fought their way through Nexus Prime Station. They used improvised weapons and Sam's scanner to identify and defeat dozens of duplicates. Many real station personnel joined them as they went. The hardest part was convincing people that their friends and colleagues might be fake. But Sam's scanner didn't lie. When someone showed up as a duplicate, they fought like a machine and died like 1-2 by the end of the day. They had retaken the station. They had also rescued over 200 real people from stasis chambers hidden throughout the facility. The Void Hunters' infiltration was more extensive than anyone had imagined, but the biggest discovery came when they accessed the station's communication logs. The fake council members had been sending detailed information about every species, weaknesses, military capabilities, and genetic traits to a massive ship hidden in the space between star systems. They're not done, Sam said, studying the data. This was just the first phase. They were gathering intelligence for a full-scale invasion. Lisa looked around the real council chamber. It was full of aliens who had been enemies just days before. Now they were working together, sharing information and resources to plan their defense against a common threat. The empty Earth chair was no longer empty. Lisa sat in it now, but not as Earth's sole representative. She sat there as the elected coordinator of the new council system they had all agreed to create. How many ships do they have? Asked General Crix, who was thankfully real and had never been replaced. According to the intelligence the duplicates gathered, at least 50 large vessels, men reported, each one capable of destroying a planet. When will they attack? Chancellor Vextar asked. Sam looked up from her analysis. Based on their communication schedule, they were expecting final intelligence reports in 72 hours. When those reports don't come, they'll know their infiltration has been discovered. So we have 3 days to prepare, Lisa said. Counselor Vecmer smiled, showing sharp teeth. 3 days to show these Void Hunters what a real council can accomplish. The next 3 days were the most productive in the council's history. Instead of spending months debating, the new expert committees acted immediately. Military strategists from all species worked together to plan defensive positions. Scientists shared technology they had been hiding from each other for centuries. Diplomats coordinated with neutral species to evacuate civilian populations. When the Void Hunter fleet finally arrived, they found something they weren't prepared for. Instead of 12 separate species fighting independently, they faced a unified galactic defense force that combined the best aspects of every civilization. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Void Hunter's adaptive technology was impressive, but it couldn't adapt fast enough to deal with constantly changing tactics from dozens of different species. Every time they learned to counter one approach, the defenders switched to something completely different. In the end, the Void Hunter fleet was destroyed. More importantly, the defenders captured several intact ships with their genetic archives. Using this information, they were able to locate and rescue thousands of beings from dozens of civilizations that everyone had thought were extinct. 6 months later, Lisa sat in the Earth chair at a much larger council table. The chamber had been expanded